We are back after a 2 week hiatus on True Sports, episode 79. Yeah, so both Lewis and I had some personal matters, but we don't want to
Yes.
bore you with any of them each.
Right.
So, with that being said, the Lions beat the Chiefs.
Shocking, isn't it?
Hey, the Lions had grit. Dan Campbell
Yeah.
and
Now,
all those players. They
although I
stepped
will
up.
say I'm not surprised because, well, I shouldn't be that surprised because when you think about it, they really needed Travis Kelsey, and
Chiefs did, yeah.
without it, I don't think Mahomes can do it by himself anymore. I think if Kelsey was there, they would have won that game, and I think they would have done a lot more serious damage. But all sometimes I want to say is one good player that can really mess it up and then change the outcome of the game, and it did. But the surprising is that the Lions coach was not surprised at all.
Yeah, he said his team right here
Yeah.
expected to win that game, and
hmm
they did.
Or as I put it this way, we came, we saw, we conquered.
Yeah, yeah. That's called grit.
Yeah.
That's totally called grit.
Rubric.
Yep. So yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, he he was doing a heck of a job. He was held a couple times, only got a couple calls, but better than none, I guess. Even better than one.
Yeah.
But that said, that's called adversity. The Lions overcame it. They won. Marvin Jones Jr. had a rough game. Kadarius Tony, uh, just Kadropius Tony or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, and that's what that's what partially gave the Lions offense chances. The Lions secondary defense still has yet to be cleaned up, although they've got new players there, such as C.J. Gardner Johnson and Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton was not not playing as well as expected as I expected him to be, but it's only 1 week. But C.J. Gardner Johnson got himself a breakup. Emmanuel Mosley, I think, played limited time, although I was not conscious of it if he did. But Brian Branch, that pick six that tied the game, oh my God, that was
Under.
huge. To open that to, yeah, that opened the third quarter and tied the game at 14. The Chiefs, but the Chiefs got two field goals in before David Montgomery punched it in from over over 14 yards out to give the Lions the lead with the extra point. Amon Ross St. Brown, the sun god they call
Yes.
opened the scoring with a catch and run. It was a battle
Yes.
between the gritty Lions and the defending Super Bowl champions. The Lions beat the defending champs, and I know the
Well, hey, over.
secondary still has I know the secondary still has yet to be cleaned up and tightened up, shaped up, but that has to feel great for Lions fans.
Yeah. Or maybe another factor is maybe the Chiefs were suffering from what's called championship hangover. But maybe.
I guess you could say that too.
Yeah.
But Ed Smith and I are going to discuss this on my other Michigan Sports Truth podcast Monday at 10:30 p.m. How about Texas stunning Alabama by 10
Yeah.
points
Love it.
earlier tonight, recently?
Yeah. Now I wasn't too convinced that Alabama was going to roll past Texas this game. I said last week that I think Texas had a chance to win. They have played them tough. I mean, they have managed to. The Big 12, especially Texas, has a good time beating SEC teams, and this was no exception. So I was not convinced that Alabama was going to roll all over Texas at all. In fact, I even think they had a chance to beat them. Ever since they lost to Texas A&M, this has not been the same Alabama team that rolled over everybody, say the last 5, 10 years. This is not the same team as they once were.
Yeah, and Utah almost got upset by Baylor, but they came
Yeah.
they came back and got the win.
Yes.
All right, so the Major League Baseball postseason race is heating up.
Hmm.
So that will be discussed with full detail on your True Sports Report right about now. So go ahead.
And we've got only 3 weeks to go before the end of the regular season. And for some teams, they just can't wait. I'll give you an example right now. Well, first off, at the bottom of the 10th, the Dodgers leading the Nationals 6-5, with, of course, the runner on second, as stated by new rules that were adapted back in 2020. Bottom of the sixth, the Giants having an easy time over the Rockies, 8-0, 2 out. Runners on first and second. Mears is pitching and Davis is at bat. Oh, Brazier is pitching and Ruiz is at bat in the Dodgers Nationals game. In the top of the ninth, Angels over the Guardians, 6-2. No one on, no one out. Estevez is pitching and Brennan is at bat. All the rest are final. As the Brewers, yeah, they beat the Yankees 9-2. Not happy about this one. Pampas was the winner, and Luzica was the loser. Oh boy. Twins over the Mets, 8-4. Menda was the winner, and Peterson was the loser. Yuck. Final and 10, the D backs over the Cubs, 3-2. Grinko got the win. Patricia got the loss, and Seawald got the save. Blue Jays over the Royals, 5-1. Guzman got the win, and Greinke got the loss. Rays over the Mariners, 7-5. Posh got the win, and Sasadeo got the loss. In a wild one here, the Orioles over the Red Sox, 13-12. Wow. Giambi got the win, and Sale got the loss. What a game! And that's despite the fact that the Red Sox out hit the Orioles 23-14. But remember, it's runs that counts, not just hits, of course. Phillies over the Marlins 8-4. Hoffman got the win. Cueto got the loss. Tigers over the White Sox 3-1. Scubble had the win. Urea got the loss, and Lang got the save. Cardinals over the Reds 4-3. Thompson got the win. Spears got the loss, and Hensley got the save. Rangers over the A's 3-2. Smith got the win. Urich got the loss, and Chapman got the save, and they can't wait for their season to be over. Astros over the Padres 7-5. Matson got the win. Lugo got the loss, and Presley got the save. And finally, Pirates over the Braves 8-4. Rocky got the win, and Dodd got the loss, and that's the way it is for now. All right, so we'll go to the standings, and it goes like this. As we come down to the last 20 games or so of the season, it rolls like this. In the East, the Orioles are 90-51, have a 4-game lead over the Reds at 87-56. The Blue Jays are 79-63, 11.5 back, still mathematically possible to get a wild card. The Red Sox 72-70, 18.5 back, and the Yankees are falling off the edge of a cliff at 70-72, 20.5 back. Good boy. In the Comedy Central of the AL, the Twins are the only decent team with 75 and 67, have a 7-game lead over the Guardians at 68 and 74. Tigers, 65 and 77, 10 back. The White Sox, 55 and 87, 20 back. And the Royals, who are now eliminated, are 44 and 99, 31 and a half back. Your season's over, buddy. In the West, the Astros are 81 and 62, have a game and a half lead over the Mariners at 79 and 63. Hanging around is the Rangers at 77 and 64, 3 back. They can get a wild card spot, pretty much. And further down the list are the Angels at 65 and 77, 15 halfback, and the A's, whose season was over at the end of April, 44 and 98, 36 and a half back. Yes. To the National League, the best team in baseball, the Braves, 92 and 49, easily can have this wrapped up within the next week or so, as the Phillies are 14 back at 78 and 63. The Marlins are 19 half back at 73 and 69. The Mets, well, they climbed out of last place, which is good, but they're 64 and 77, 28 back. And the Nationals, the perennial losers, are 63 and 78, 29 back. Forget it. Mathematically, you don't have a prayer. To the Central, the Brewers are 79 and 62, have a 4-game lead over the Cubs at 76 and 67. Come on, Chicago. Reds, 73 and 71, 7.5 back. The Pirates, who started out well this season, are now drowning at 66 and 76, 13.5 back. And the Cardinals, the disappointment of the season, 63 and 79, 16.5 back. My goodness, what happened to them? And finally, in the West, Dodgers are going to have this wrapped up soon. They're 86 and 54, a 12.5 game lead over the D backs at 75 and 68. The Giants are 71 70, 15 at back. They might have a chance to make a wild card, maybe. Padres, not much of a chance at 67 and 76, 20 and a half back. And the Rockies are eliminated at 51 89, 35 back. What can I tell you? Okay, now for tomorrow's schedule. And it goes like this. Okay, just go down a page. Here we go. Starting off at 105, the Marlins take on the Phillies. At 110, a few games as the White Sox take on the Tigers. The Mariners take on the Rays. 135. Okay, we got some games here. As the Orioles take on the Red Sox, the Dodgers take on the Nationals. The Brewers take on the Yankees one more time, and the Pirates take on the Braves. 137, Royals take on the Blue Jays. At 140, the Cardinals take on the Reds. Paired to 10 games as the Mets take on the Twins and the Padres take on the Astros. 220, the D-backs take on the Cubs. 235, the Guardians take on the Rangers. 407, the Guardians take on the Angels. And at 8 p.m. on ESPN, the Rockies take on the Giants. All right, so we'll switch now to top 25 action and a few local teams, if nobody minds, in college football, and we go this way. All right, in the third quarter, with 10:26 to go, Florida State is romping all over Southern Mississippi, 52-3. Travis has 175 yards passing on 2 touchdowns. Benson has rushed for 78 yards on 9 carries and 3 touchdowns, and Coleman has 48 receiving yards and a touchdown. Also in the third, Oregon State is beating up on UC Davis. 8:52 to go in the third, 41-0. Ugulander Forrest has 107 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Martinez, running back, has 104 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 7 carries. And Bolden, a wide receiver, has 65 yards, 1 touchdown on 65 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. In the late games, USC is leading Stanford 14-0 right now. Williams has passed for 52 yards. He has also rushed for 21 yards, 1 touchdown with 1 carry, and Branch has 28 receiving yards. All the rest are final. As Georgia, top-ranked Georgia, rolls over Ball State 45-3. Beck has 263 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Robinson, the third, has 38 rushing yards on 6 carries and 1 touchdown, and Smith has 50 receiving yards. Number 5, Ohio State beat up on Youngstown State in the Battle of Ohio. Accord had 258 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. King had 66 rushing yards on 12 carries, and Harrison Jr. has 160 yards with 2 touchdowns. Blowouts continue as Penn State, number 7, beat up on Delaware 63-7 in another cream puff game. Allar had 204 passing yards. Allen had 103 rushing yards on 1 touchdown, 19 carries, and Lambert Smith had 74 receiving yards. Number 10, Notre Dame over NC State, 45-24. Hartman had 286 passing yards. Estime had 134 rushing yards on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns, and Stays had 115 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Nice. Number 12, Utah escapes Baylor 20-13. Robertson had 218 passing yards and 2 interceptions. Jackson had 128 rushing yards on 19 carries, and Presley, Elvis's third cousin, had 72 receiving yards. Okay, maybe not Elvis. You, yeah. Number 15, Kansas State over Troy, 42-13. Howard had 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Vital, 83 rushing yards on 17 carries, and Brooks had 94 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Number 22, Colorado over Nebraska, 36-14. Sanders had 393 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Irvin Jr. had 74 rushing yards on 17 carries, and Weaver had 170 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Number 25, Clemson over Charleston Southern, 66-17. Kubik had 315 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Shipley had 73 rushing yards on carries, and Collins had 137 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Number 2, Michigan over UNLV, 35-7. J.J. McCarthy had 278 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Corum had 80 rushing yards on 15 carries and 3 touchdowns, and Wilson had 89 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. This was to be a good game, but it could have been better, as number 20 Ole Miss beat number 24 Tulane 37-20. Dort had 267 passing yards on 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. Hughes had 92 rushing yards on 23 carries and 1 touchdown, and Wade had 106 receiving yards. Miami over number 23 Texas Tech, 48-33. Van Dyke, 374 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Daniels, 62 rushing yards on 18 carries and 1 touchdown, while Stewart had 142 receiving yards. Number 8, Washington over Tulsa, 43-10. Penix Jr. had 409 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ford had 67 receiving yards on 15 carries, and McMillan 120 receiving yards and a touchdown. Number 8, Tennessee over Austin PV, 30-13. DeLeo had 260 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Wright had 118 rushing yards on 13 carries. That's right, with a W. And Goodwin had 70 receiving yards and a touchdown. In 2 overtimes, North Carolina beat Appalachian State 40-34, or as I say, App State. Aguilar had 270 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hampton had 234 rushing yards on 26 carries and 3 touchdowns. Davis had 117 receiving yards and a touchdown. Number 18, Oklahoma over SMU, 28-11. Stone had 250 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Walker, 21 carries and 117 yards, no touchdown. Anthony, 76 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Number 21, Duke over Lafayette, where my cousin played. 130. Leonard had 136 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Walters had 112 rushing yards, 11 carries, and 2 touchdowns. And Moore, with 2 O's, had 84 receiving yards and a touchdown. Upset of the week so far. Number 11, Texas over number 3, Alabama. Too bad. 34-24. Ewers, 349 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Brooks, 57 rushing yards, 14 carries and a touchdown. And Sanders had 114 receiving yards. Number 13, Oregon over Texas Tech, 38-30. Nix had 359 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Shogu had 101 rushing yards, 23 carries, and 1 touchdown. And Franklin had 103 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Number 14, LSU rebounded from their loss against Florida State this time around with a good old-fashioned romp of being grumbling, 72-10. Daniels had 269 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Diggs had 115 rushing yards, 15 carries, and 1 touchdown. And Nappers had 87 receiving yards and 1 touchdown.
72-10.
Yep. Nice rebound from last week, but I wasn't surprised with that game either, because that game could went either way against Florida State. I wasn't surprised at all. And finally, the top 25 upset here: Washington State over 19, Wisconsin, 31-22. McCourty had 270 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Maluzzi had 48 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, and Pauling had 78 receiving yards. Now, for games that interest our local crowd, as I like to call it, we do have local games in the area. I think the Rutgers game has finally ended, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, because they are going down the list here. Okay. Michigan State over Richmond, 45-14. If anybody was thinking of that. Navy over Wagner, 24-0. That's for my area, folks. And if I can find that Rutgers. Yes. Finally, Rutgers over Temple, 36-7. Thank you. Makes New Jersey proud. Well, makes me happy anyway. Oh, and finally, for those of you in the New York area, Fordham over Buffalo, 40-37. Hey, great game. Sorry I missed it. All right. Hey, you know what? Of course, tomorrow starts the NFL first Sunday of the season. So, why not? We'll take a look at the schedule here. First Sunday football of the year. Well, of the regular season. We had a few preseason. So, it goes down like this. That's not the right page, you dope. Let's try this again. Take 2. Okay. As we mentioned, of course, Detroit over Kansas City, 21-20. On Thursday night, Jared Goff had 253 passing yards. Rushing leader was Dale Montgomery with 74 yards, and receiving leader, Josh Reynolds, with 80. Okay, for tomorrow, starting with your 1 o'clock games. The Panthers will take on the Falcons. Other 1 o'clock games are the Bengals versus the Browns in the Battle of Ohio. The Jaguars taking on the Colts. The Bucks taking on the Vikings. The Titans taking on the Saints. The 49ers taking on the Steelers. Oh boy. Cardinals take on the Commanders, or whatever they call themselves. And the Texans take on the Ravens. Your 425 games are the Packers taking on the Bears. The Raiders taking on the Broncos. The Eagles taking on the Patriots, or as I call them. The Dolphins taking on the Chargers. The Rams taking on the Seahawks. Your 820 game is the Cowboys taking on the Giants. I'm going to enjoy that game for sure. Yeah, I know I am. All right, so on to news items of the past week. And we'll start with this. And if you're a Yankee fan, you might want to sit down because as bad as our season is going, well, yet we have another setback. And this one involves our pitchers, as usual, because it's been so bad all year. As Luis Severino, who went on the injured list yesterday, may have thrown his last pitch as a Yankee. After today's 9-2 loss against the Brewers, the Yankees said that Severino suffered a high-grade left oblique strain and will miss the rest of the season. Severino left last night's game in the fifth inning, giving up a leadoff single to Bruce Turang in the fifth. Oops. After throwing his 70th pitch, Severino dropped his glove into the mound, doubled over in pain, and walked around the mound. He was holding his left side near his oblique and was replaced by Johnny Brito after being checked by a trainer and manager Aaron Boone. This does not look good for the Yankees to even make the play. They are on the brink of having their first losing season since 1992. That's right, folks. The last time they didn't have a 500 record, at least, was 31 years ago. Ugh, the thought of it makes me sick. All right, Mookie Betts is likely not going to play this weekend series against the Nationals after a foul ball hit his left foot, but an MRI and CT scan came back clean, so it's nothing to worry about. Manager Dave Roberts made the announcement after yesterday's win over the Nationals. Bettis was diagnosed with a bone bruise. Bettis, the 2019-18 AL MVP, was off crutches yesterday, a day after he was injured earlier in Miami. Despite progress, though, Roberts still thinks that Bettis will not play this weekend. So far in the season, he has 99 RBIs and 34 home runs. Not bad. Well, the Yankees set the Wayback Machine back to 1998 today, as the annual Old Timers Day game was played. Old Timers Day was at Yankee Stadium. Actually, there was no game played, as several members of the 98 team were honored on Old Timers Day. Former Yankee captain Derek Jeter made his Old Timers debut at the ripe old age of 49, which is 4 years younger than I am. The 1998 team won 114 regular season games and then won the World Series that year, the second best team with the regular season record ever. While Jeter's name was introduced by the PA system, when Jeter's name was introduced to the PA system, it used a recording of the late PA announcer Bob Shepard, who was also public address announcer for the New York Giants. I can just hear it now. Now batting at number 2, Derek Jeter. Sorry, I've always wanted to do that. Jeter retired after the 2014 season with 3,465 hits. That's sixth best all time. His number was the last of the single-digit numbers to be retired in 2017 and was selected into the Hall of Fame in 2020. He received 396 out of 397 ballots to enter the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. He served 5 seasons as manager for the Marlins, which didn't do anything at all, and then joined an analyst for the Fox baseball coverage. George Posada, Andy Pett, and Mariano Rivera were also in hand as the core 4 was reunited. Manager Joe Torre was absent while recovering from shoulder replacement surgery, but did send a video message on Thursday. The Yankees entered today at 70-71, now 70-72, with 20 games left in the regular season, and could be looking at their first losing season in over 30 years, 31 years to be exact. Ugh, yuck. The Rams placed wide receiver Cooper Kupp on the injured list, meaning he will miss the first 4 games due to his nagging hamstring injury, which just doesn't seem to go away. Cooper will miss the games against the Seahawks, the Bengals, Colts, and 49ers. That game was at home. Earlier this week, Coach Sean McVay acknowledged that Coop could be placed on the injured reserve list, and the Rams don't want to rush him back from the hamstring injury that he suffered on August 1st in camp and acted up again this week. Boy, when it rains, it pours. Yeah. All right, moving along. Interesting. HBO will do a documentary on the Villanova Georgetown series, one of the greatest games in NCAA history. That's when Villanova pulled off the upset against Georgetown as they were going for their second straight title. The good old days of Georgetown basketball. Yeah. Look at them now. Now they're a dump. The Twins reinstated first baseman / outfielder Alex Kilroth from a rehab assignment and placed Joey Gallo on the 10-day injured list as of yesterday. Kilroth missed 34 games for the Twins after being placed on the 10-day injured list with a right shoulder strain. In his third year of the majors, Kilroth has played a career high 69 games, batting .270 with 8 home runs and 32 RBIs. Gallo suffered a left foot contusion and injured list was retroactive to Wednesday. Gallo played 111 games in his first season with the Twins, batting .177 with 21 home runs and 40 RBIs with 142 strikeouts. The Twins ended last night at 73-67 and are playing a 3-game series against the Mets right now, and they lead the Guardians by 6.5 games in the AL Comic Tragedy Central Division. And believe me, a comic tragedy it is, folks. If I do say so myself. You can't do much worse than that. The Packers suffered a setback as receiver Christian Watson will miss the opening game against the Bears tomorrow as a result of a hamstring injury, said by Coach Matt LaFleur. Fellow receiver Romeo Dubas, who was also dealing with a hamstring injury, was listed as, questionable. Wilson popped on the injury after making it through training camp without missing a single practice. He even took part in both sessions last week following the preseason opener, so it's not clear when the injury occurred. We still have a week left to prepare for this, said LaFleur, said today. So it's not like we altered the plan too much. I think when you miss one of your better players with throw your curveball into it, but it happens a lot. LaFleur stated Watson's injury is hopefully as week to week, meaning being placed on the injured reserve list, he might not be needed. Watson would miss the first 4 games of the season if he was to be replaced, put on injured reserve. Watson missed 3 games last season with a hamstring injury. It is not known if it's the same leg from a year ago. Last season, Watson caught 41 passes for 611 yards and 7 touchdowns. Can history repeat itself? Maybe. Dodgers pitcher Julio Urias was arrested after someone saw a physical altercation between a man and a woman outside MLS Stadium and contacted police, according to the report on Thursday. The report by the Department of Public Safety provided details on the arrest of last Sunday on South Hoover Street outside the BMO Stadium south of Los Angeles. More coming here. The report said the DFS officers were patrolling outside the stadium after Miami took on LAFC, where Lionel Messi was in front of Celebrity Row. They were contacted by someone whose name was not identified regarding a physical altercation between a man and a woman. The report said the officers talked to the individuals and involved and determined that an altercation had occurred. The investigation resulted in the arrest of Urias on suspicion of corporal injury to a spouse or such other people. Okay, we got some good news for you Yankee fans out there. Not by a player, but by a staff. As cameraman Pete Stendel returned to work on Thursday, after missing 2 months after he was hit by a ball in his face. I remember that. Stendel worked the center field camera against the Tigers on that night and was hit, and that's where he was hit, said spokesman Eric Handler. He sustained an orbital fracture when he was hit by a throw from Orioles shortstop Gunnar Henderson back on July 5th. Stendel was positioned next to the Yankee dugout on the first base side. Wow. After Henderson's throw, the game was delayed 17 minutes as the training staff and medical personnel attended to Stendel in the camera well. The Orioles players came off the field and waited in their dugout as both teams watched in serious concern over a hushed crowd at the ballpark. Yankee manager Aaron Boone spoke to Stendel after the incident. He did not know Stendel had returned before Boone spoke to him before starting a 3-game series with the Brewers, which the Brewers have now taken 2 games in this series so far. And that's why they're 70-72. So as I mentioned, While NFL fans might have been stunned by the Lions' win over the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs, head coach Dan Campbell said, "Nah, I wasn't surprised at all." The 30-year coach prepared for his team in Thursday's upset win over the Chiefs. Campbell said, "I did not learn anything. I got verification on what I already know, and this is a resilient team. So we were built to handle stuff like this. We did not. We did it against a tough opponent." While the Lions were down by 3 entering the fourth, the reliance was on display as they won their fourth straight road game when trailing heading into the fourth quarter. Running back David Montgomery put the Lions up for good with an 8-yard run up the middle with just 7 minutes to spoil the Chiefs' championship celebration. Boy, did they ever on the night the Chiefs raised the banner at Arrowhead Stadium. We expected to win this game. We came into the game and knew what we needed to do, and we knew it would not be easy. Yet we did it. Campbell really, what it means, Campbell said, what it really means is that it's one win. So we need to go clean up our issues. It hurts us on some stuff, but we'll be ready when we take on the Seahawks next week. Well, congratulations on that amazing upset victory. Tigers pitcher Matt Manning was placed on the 15-day injured list on Thursday and will miss the rest of the season with a broken right foot after being hit off a comebacker from the bat of Giancarlo Stanton of the Yankees. Manning was 5-4 with 3.58 ERA and 15 starts. He missed 2.5 months after he was hit on the foot off a comebacker from Blue Jays catcher Alejandro Kirk. I was so annoyed that it was the same foot and basically the same spot, Manning said after he was injured in Wednesday's loss. There are no positives that come out of this. It's unlucky it happens, but I guess it was cool to be hit by MVP, I guess. Manning was hit by a comebacker off of Kirk on April 11th and did not return until, I believe, July 27th. Manager A.J. Hinch did not say who will replace Manning in the rotation. Trey Winginter, a right-handed pitcher, was recalled from AAA Toledo to add the bullpen after the Tigers used 6 pitchers in their first 2 games in the series against the Yankees. Winginter is 1-0 with a 7.0 ERA in 10 games for the Tigers this season and had a 5.57 ERA in 22 appearances for Toledo. Kind of mediocre, if you ask me. Okay. The Bengals have secured their future for a long-term quarterback. Joe Burrow signed a whopping 5-year, $275 million deal that includes a guarantee of $219 million, making him the highest-paid player in NFL history. The contract, which averages $55 million per season, ends month of negotiations and nagging, and rewards a player who turned the Bengals into a winning team. In 2019, the Bengals were a trash dump, if I ever saw one. Only winning 2 games that season, matching their lowest total in franchise history. That put the Bengals in position to draft Burrow, who won the national title for LSU and the Heisman Trophy to boot. After tearing both his MCL and ACL in his left knee in his rookie season, a double whammy, he rebounded in 2021, and the Bengals had their best season in more than 30 years. The Bengals won their first playoff game since 1991 and reached the Super Bowl for the first time since losing to the 49ers in the final minute of the game back in 1989. Montana with that catch. Burrow became the Associated Press Comeback Player of the Year. His deal outshines all of the quarterbacks that received contracts, such as Justin Herbert of the Chargers, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, and Hurts for him, and Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Yeah, tough break. Imagine Kelsey is out. Braves pitcher Michael Sorka is out for the rest of the year, but will not require surgery. The Braves placed Sorka on the 15-day injury list on Wednesday. He suffered another setback for the right-hander. For the former All-Star, who was once promising career, has been sidelined by leg injuries. After a series of injuries, the Braves medical staff determined that forearm inflammation was the cause of numbness in his fingers. There were no tears found, so that's the good news. Leaving rest and rehab as the most likely path to recovery. He's done for the year. It's not anything he would have had time to come back from anyway, said manager Brian Stickler said after Thursday's loss to the Cardinals. He'll be shut down, and then he can focus when he gets ready for the offseason program. Starker returned from the injury list twice this season after he tore his right Achilles tendon and Stinger feared another setback. The manager sounded more hopeful 24 hours later. Just a tough break, though. So the Braves call right-handers Darius Vines, and Ben Heller from AAA Gwinnett. Vikings, okay. Okay, odds makers predict Kansas City will repeat as the Super Bowl champions, and Patrick Mahomes will be the favorite to win the MVP. The Caesars Sportsbook said the Chiefs are 6-1 as of Thursday morning as they began the regular season opener against the Lions, which they lost. Mahomes is a 6-1 favorite to win the MVP, while Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow is expected 7-1. Good odds. This is the fourth time in 5 years the Chiefs have entered as Super Bowl favorites in the preseason. The Bills were the favorites from last season. In the past 2 decades, only the Patriots and Chiefs are the only teams that enter as preseason favorites in 4 of the last 5 years. The Eagles, who lost to the Chiefs as run-up, are 15-2 odds. However, the Eagles have the support of the betting public at FanDuel, as more bets were placed on the Eagles than any other team to win the Super Bowl. The 49ers and Bills are tied at 9-1. That's my pick for the Super Bowl anyway. And the Bengals are 10-1 and round out the top 5. The Jets' odds did improve dramatically after going to 16-1 this year, as compared to 201 odds, 200-1 odds last season, since it was announced that Aaron Rodgers was being traded from the Packers. The worst team to have the worst odds are the Texans, who have a shot of 10,000-1 odds. Forget it. You're not going to win that. All right, so now I'll move on to some other news here. Oh, okay. But the Tampa Bay Lightning have terminated the contract of forward Josh Archibald today after the offseason acquisition said he was taking time off from the game. The Lightning signed free agent Tyler Mott to replace him on a 1-year deal worth $800,000. Archibald played 9 seasons with the Pens, Coyotes, and Oilers, signed a 2-year deal with the Lightning, playing 62 games after playing 62 games for the Pens last season. Moore played with this last season with the Senators and Rangers, scoring 8 goals and 11 assists in 62 games. Continuing on. In a game that was supposed to be in the making, Team USA and Team Canada will have to sell for the bronze. It was not expected to be for the bronze, which both teams were playing for, but it's still, as both teams are still winning from upset losses in the tournament, but hopes to start a new rivalry. Canada has not met in basketball world competition since the 1936 Summer Olympics, but they've had a steady influx of homegrown talent players such as Shai Alexander. Canada is qualified for next summer's Olympics in Paris based on their strong performance in the tournament, showing the tournament its first Olympics since Sydney in 2000. The U.S. has won the previous 4 Olympics and could meet again next summer. Then, as the Canadian basketball pipelines expands, there could be more in the future. Naturally, there is a threat of a letdown for a bronze medal, and since there was so much expectation that both teams could play for the gold medal. Team USA won the past 2 bronze medals games and has played at the 2004 Olympics and the 2026 World Cup, but it's a new challenge for this current group. Even though Canada has the most talent other than the U.S. with 7 current players, plus the College Player of the Year Zach Edey from Purdue, it may be a more comfortable matchup for the U.S. Daniel Medvedev said the men's semifinal round at the U.S. Open said he would need a near perfect match to beat defending champ Carlos Alcaraz. How did Medvedev rate his performance last night? I played a 12 out of 10, he said. After beating Alcaraz in 4 sets, that would set up a live set rematch against Novak Djokovic tomorrow. Medvedev, who was third seed, won his first major in 2021 against the Joker. That prevented him from completing the calendar Grand Slam. A meeting in the final tomorrow would have been a rematch of last month's Cincinnati Masters, won by Dvorak, and a final at Wimbledon in July, and a semifinal at the French Open in June by Dvorak. But that did not happen. Medvedev stood in the way of Alcaraz, giving up his number one ranked position no matter what the outcome comes tomorrow. Alcaraz was trying to become the first man to win consecutive titles at the U.S. Open since Roger Federer when he won 5 straight. So instead, Medvedev will be going for his third U.S. Open title in 5 years and fifth major title overall. Moving along. I mentioned Joe Beck will be going for his 24th Grand Slam and his record tying 10th U.S. Open final and his 36th major overall. And he went off and he went off in a celebration, mocking the old hang up the phone gesture in celebration, the old kids game. Yeah. Germany entered the U.S. chance of the gold medal at the FIBA World Cup yesterday, 113 to 111. The wager was the size difference as Germany towered over the Americans. With the loss, the U.S. were denied a second trip to the finals and will now have to settle for playing for the bronze medal tomorrow against Canada. They were down considerably in the third quarter, but they managed to bounce back. The U.S. tried to come back against Germany in a spirited game as well. The U.S. was too small and showed up as it did in this game like they did against Lithuania last week. Germany was able to get more scoring chances simply because they were able to get the ball back from the shots they missed. Germany had 12 offensive rebounds and scored 25 points, while the U.S. 25 second chance points, while the U.S. scored only 8. Anthony Edwards, who scored 23 points for Team USA, said we were rebounded all night, uh, and they were more physical than us as they tried to mount a comeback, but came up short by 2 in the end. Andreas Obost nailed the game with a three-pointer at the end to finish with 24 points. Yeah, no joker, no problem. Even with their best player, Serbia, will play for the gold in the World Cup final. Bogdan Bogdanovic scored 23 points as Serbia beat Canada 95-86 to advance to the final. Orjin Dorbak and Kilo Mintov scored 60 points each and had the best shooting duo in the tournament so far, shooting 55% of its shots, then connecting on 62%, ending all hopes for Canada. RJ Barrett was the highest scorer for Canada with 23 points, in which was hoping to go to its first final. Will now have to sell for the loser of the U.S. versus Germany match to play for the bronze, which will be their first medal in any international competition since the 1936 Olympics and took home a silver medal. Dylan Brooks. Yeah. Okay, Dylan Brooks scored 15 points, and Shai Alexander scored 16 points and 10 rebounds. That's below his tournament average. Jokic decided not to play after coming off his championship season with the Denver Nuggets, giving a chance to rest up for next season. Siberia had to regroup again after losing forward Borisa Simic after having emergency surgery to remove a kidney after getting elbowed against South Sudan. Come Sunday, Siberia will get a medal. The only thing is we just know which medal it's going to be. I say it's going to be silver. All right. Hall of Fame defenseman Chris Chelios will have his number 7 jersey retired by the Blackhawks in a ceremony on February 25th. The announcement came on Thursday. The announcement came at the United Center at a Pearl Jam concert which in a way makes sense because lead singer Eddie Vedder and Chelios are good friends. So it's not really a surprise. Chelios played 26 seasons in the AHL, retired in 2010, and will be honored before they take on the Red Wings. Of those 26 seasons, 19 of them were played between the Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings. He has 3 Stanley Cups to his credit, one with Montreal and 2 with Detroit. Also played for the then Atlanta Thrashers, which are now the Winnipeg Jets Part 2. Chelios won the Norris Trophy 3 times as a top defenseman and was inducted into the Hall of Fame back in 2013. Trey Murphy underwent a successful meniscus in his left knee yesterday and should return within 10 to 12 weeks. The Pelicans made the announcement back on Thursday. Pelicans said Murphy had a partial torn meniscectomy and received a biologic injection in his knee. Murphy became injured during a workout at a practice facility on Tuesday, reports to ESPN. He averaged 40.6% from the 3-point range and 90.5% from the free throw line. Last season, he started 17 games with the Pelicans and was selected 17th overall at the 2021 draft out of Virginia. Okay, it's not too interesting. Well, let's take a look here. Yeah, that was from a few days ago. Oh boy. Okay, former first round NHL pick Michael Delzato has decided to hang it with skates after 13 years. His first 5 seasons with the Rangers. Delzato played 33 games for the Senators in the 2021-22 season. He's eighth and final team. He did not play all last season. Delzato wrote that it was bittersweet. I was fortunate to play in the league for 14 seasons. The blood, sweat, tears, and broken bones, and the triumph and sacrifice was all worth it. The Rangers selected Delzato 20th overall in 2008 and made his debut with the Blue Shirts a year later and played 80 games. He made the all-rookie team that season with 37 points. For his career, he finished with 262 points, 199 assists, and 63 goals in 736 games. After the Rangers, he went on to play for 5 different teams, including twice for the Anaheim Ducks in 2017 since the 2017 and 18 season. The Boston Bruins signed forward Dayton Hennian to a professional agreement. Henman broke in the NHL in 2016 after being selected in the 4th round in the 2024 draft. He went on to play for the Bruins from 2016 to 2020, the Ducks from 2020 to 2021, and the Penguins from 2021 to 2023. He had a career 18 goals for Pittsburgh in the 21-22 season, finishing with 18 goals. He had 22 points last season with 8 goals and 14 assists in 65 games, but did not resign. Helen had 176 points in his career with 76 goals and 413 NHL games. Okay. Free agent Danny Green agrees to a 1-year deal with the Sixers. His agent Sam Hammoud of Rock Nation told ESPN. Green returns to the Sixers as an organization where his relationships with Joel Embiid and new head coach Nick Nurse play a part in the team's desire to bring them to camp, with a strong chance of making the opening night roster. Green is a 3-time NBA champion. Tore his ACL and MCL in Game 6 in 2022 Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat and was traded to the Grizzlies in the offseason. Green spent 2 seasons with the Sixers, shooting 39.5% from 3-point range. Green is one of 3 players to play in at least one postseason since 2011, along with James Harden and Chris Paul. Yeah. Green had 665 corner 3 points since he entered the league since 2009-2010, third most in a span behind PJ Tucker and Trevor Ariza. Green signed a free agent deal in the 2022-23 season with the Cavaliers after a trade deadline that landed him in Houston, where the Rockets have waived him. Right. Okay. A fan was ejected from the U.S. Open earlier this week after German player Alexander Zverev, as he complained the man used offensive language from Hitler's regime. Zverev is currently 12th ranked, was serving the fourth set tie at 2 against 6th ranked Yannick Sinner. He went to the chair umpire and pointed towards the fan who was sitting in a section behind the umpire. He said the most famous Hitler phrase in the world. Zverev, he told the umpire and said, "No, this is not acceptable. I agree." The umpire asked the so-called fan to identify himself and then asked the fans to be respectful to both players. During shortly after the change was over, Zverev held the fan that was identified by other fans and was removed by security. A despondent remark was directed towards Zverev and spokesman Chris uh, Windmayer. The fan was identified and escorted out of the stadium. Zverev said after the match, there have been fans that he had made some derogatory comments in the past, but not about Hitler. And you don't mess with that. All right. Okay, most of that is pretty much done. Siberian. Yeah. Here's the real story about Siberian Samak. Powerful financial team of Siberia had surgery to remove a kidney from taking an elbow to his midsection set by the Siberian Federation. The injury occurred in 5 minutes over Siberia's win over South Sudan on Wednesday. He was elbowed by Nuni Admat of South Sudan and was in instant pain. He was taken to the hospital for emergency surgery that night. Over the weekend, however, Simic had complications thank you, as there was as was for emergency surgery that night. Over the weekend, however, he had complications as there was issue finding his blood type, said the Siberian coach. Several members of the team were offered to donate their own blood to Simic. On Sunday, he underwent a second operation that the kidney removed, that according to a statement from the team doctor. I believe he's still in the hospital because this could take a while. All Motley apologized for the incident and hopes that Simic will make a quick recovery. Just a shame, though, how that happened. That's going to be the worst moment of the month, I think. Just awful. All right, just a quick check to see if I missed anything of importance. The Cardinals know who will start tomorrow's game against the Commanders. He's just not telling anyone who that is. Like that never that little sneak. I'm not saying anything to anyone, said Coach John Gannon. He said at the news conference back on Wednesday. Earlier, Gannon said the players know the plan on who will start for tomorrow's game between rookie Clayton Tune, who was recently acquired, and the recently acquired Josh Dobbs. When Dobbs was asked if he would start on Sunday, he referred the question to Gannon, who said August 28th that he would not announce a starter because he believes there is a competitive advantage. Both quarterbacks had to dance around questions about starting tomorrow. If I am selected, I'll be excited to go out there and perform the way I know how. I can perform to represent the Cardinals and Leah's team, said Dobbs. Toom, who was drafted in the fifth round in April, said that there had been a lot going on the past 2 weeks. When the then presumptive starter Colt McCoy being released and Arizona training for Dobbs. Toon said he would just try to focus on what he can control, like he feels like he's ready to play. I feel confident in my abilities and progression I made through camp, Sheen said. I'm confident in the guys around me and plays and feel good. If I was able to go, I feel comfortable. I feel ready to go. Dobbs started 2 games last year when he was with the Titans. Says he's been able to drive into film and get extra reps with his new teammates and learn this version of the offense run by coordinator Drew Persing, who worked with Dobbs as a quarterback coach for the Browns. All right, so let's check some other quick scores here. See if there's any left. The Nationals over the Dodgers 7-6, 11 innings. Machado got the win. Van got the loss. Astros, Padres, Braves. Giants, Rockies 9-1. Webb got the win. Anderson got the loss. And Angels over the Guardians 6-2. Anderson got the win here, and Gallardo got the loss. Checking a quick check on college football, as some games are now starting to end. Okay, 18. Let me see if I need to update. Nope, it's still a disaster as Florida State's romping over Southern Miss now 66-10, 8:19 to go in the fourth quarter. Travis now has 175 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Benson has 79 rushing yards on 9 carries and 3 touchdowns. And Coleman has 48 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Number 16, Oregon State is beating up on UC Davis. 5:06 to go, 55-7. And nothing has more chance than that. Ugh. Ugly games, folks. And finally, USC is having an easy time over Stanford now, 41-3. Williams has 263 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Smith has 52 rushes on 4 carries, and Washington has 92 receiving yards. As added into WNBA, it looks to come down between the Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty as they are having the highest seasons in their WNBA history. And Serena Liskinu is now the all-time leader in 3-point shots made with 127. Very impressive. Okay, that's enough of my yapping, so I'll turn back over to you, Taylor.
All right. So, first 3 weeks of college football, yeah, most games in the first 3 weeks altogether are going to be routes. But
Pretty tough schedule.
yeah, and then before the conference schedules commence.
Yeah.
So that's episode 79 of True Sports. We'll be back with episode 80 tomorrow night at 11 with a recap of NFL Week 1, 2023-2024. For Lewis Tenor, I'm Taylor Phillips. Ta-ta.
Good night, folks.